You are on my YouTube channel, Shawn Rides BMW. I ride, currently BMW motorcycle. So I started my channel, I think in February, right before I had hip replacement. I've been posting for a while. I just hit 68 subscribers, which is not many, big picture, but it's a lot for me. So today I'm talking about, are you too old to start riding? I think everybody thinks that. I thought about that so I started riding when I was 28, 29, and I felt like I was old starting to ride back then. Now I'm 43, been riding for a while, and if anybody's ever seen any of my videos, I do bring it up sometimes. Last 5 years, I really haven't ridden much between shoulder surgery, hip replacement, actually just like 3 months ago, but I've actually ridden quite a bit in the past month, almost 1,000 miles with New York weather, and considering that's less than what I rode all season last year, it's a big increase for me actually riding pain-free after hip replacement. But think about, are you too old to start riding? You're never too old to start riding. Even with my circumstance, even coming back after having some serious surgeries, I was rehabilitated. Doctor said I was okay. But I kind of started riding after hip replacement before the doctor said it was okay. But you're never too old to start riding. I know people nearly twice my age who are still riding, who've ridden for decades. So I'll kind of start at the beginning. Said kind of a milestone for me hitting because my only my YouTube channel here with 68 subscribers currently. I know I've been posting a lot of shorts. I've really always wanted to focus more on the long form, and I've been posting one long form video a week, and I kind of missed my self-made deadline yesterday. Didn't post my long form. I have a couple in the works. Had to delay because of editing, work, traveling for work, kind of put me behind on that. And also having 3 kids, it can be tough making YouTube videos, finding the time to ride, but then adding on, I got to edit these videos once I'm done riding to actually make it presentable. But my whole channel is more long form. I didn't think I definitely have a lot more shorts on the channel so far than anywhere else. But my whole channel is just about, it can relate to anybody. But like I said, right now I'm 43 years old. And I know when I started riding when I was 28, 29 years old, I had so many questions. Even back then I was watching a lot of stuff on YouTube of some guides about how to ride and things like that. But also, all the notorious, idiots on motorcycles not knowing what to do and wrecking, seeing all the things everybody thinks everybody who gets on a bike is going to wreck at some point. I've been riding, like I said, 14, 15 years, whatever, and I've never wrecked. Had many close calls, and that's 99% of those are because of other people in cars causing those close calls. So that's where, quick update. Like I said, this is my bike. I've been riding this, bought this brand new in 2015. And I think I'm almost 11,000 miles. And thing was, I didn't have, like I said, the last 5 years has been limited at riding. And the first year I had this, I think I put 5,500 miles on it. And then after that, having 3 kids and then shoulder surgery, hip replacement has slowed me down riding. But like I said, now finally riding pain-free. So like I said, you can come back from those injuries, whether it's injuries or you feel like age is a factor. I know, like I said, even when I was starting to ride at 29, it's tough learning something new because you're starting all over again. And it is fun if you have no experience riding dirt bikes or anything like that, and if you're driving a stick shift car, that's not going to translate over to a motorcycle. It's completely different. Your clutch on the motorcycle is on your hand, your clutch on the car is on your you use with your foot. So quite a bit different. So it is frustrating, that learning phase for me, especially that first couple, probably month was really frustrating because it was just learn not to stall out the bike constantly. So just not to get over frustrated by that. And I really think the MSF course is a great course to take, because what many don't know. So New York, and I'm sure it's similar in the majority of the United States. I don't know any other how it works in other countries. But United States, New York specifically for me, I was riding with my permit by myself just around the block, and one of the neighbors called the cops on me. The cop came, "Oh, you can't ride by yourself. It's just a permit," which I kind of already knew that. But you have to have another motorcycle rider license on another bike ride with you to do it legally. So it's kind of not that they're going to do anything for you. So I took the MSF course. The good thing about the MSF course, they show you basics, and you never go faster, I think, than 20 miles per hour, because you're just in like a big parking lot for that MSF course. But it's a great course. But don't think after you get done with the MSF course, you're going to be a really good rider. You're not going to be a really good rider after MSF course. If you go in there, instead, I went in there, I think I only had like 70 miles on my Ninja 250 when I went in there. And during the course, the bikes they had were either a Ninja 250 or a Rebel. I think it's a Honda Rebel 250 at the time. So those were the two bikes you could pick from. And I was going to pick a 250 Ninja, the old school style. So, but you never go past like 20 miles per hour. It's just about maneuvers, not stalling out the bike, stuff like that. But at the end of the course, you do the road test there with everybody who's doing the course with you. I think there's like 10 other people in the course with me. They give you endorsement. You just take it to the DMV and you get your license there. You don't have to take a road test from somebody at the DMV. And then basically now you can ride legally. But even though I could ride legally at that point, I was still like cautiously just taking like side roads, because everything threw me off. If I took the main roads, I was scared to death, because all the crosswinds were knocking me all over the place. The old school Ninja 250 had, it's a super light bike. I think it was, I want to say it was only like, I don't know, maybe 300 some pounds, maybe. And then it had no, traction control, electronic stabilization, all that stuff the new bikes have. So if you get hit by crosswinds, you were getting knocked all over the freaking place with the old Ninja 250. So it took me a long time to get comfortable going faster, getting on the main road. So after I took the MSF course, I slowly progressed. I took back roads, side roads, a little bit on the main roads, and it pretty much took me all summer. Towards the end of that summer, then I started, getting on the main roads, taking longer trips on the bike. The crosswinds were still crazy on that bike. I would get knocked all over the place, even with it. But I started learning how to maneuver that a little bit better as the more practice I had. But like I said, MSF course is fantastic. It's gonna. I don't know what it runs right now. When I took it, it was like, I think 300, 500, something like that. Probably, I'm sure it went up. It wouldn't surprise me if it's like 500 now. But well worth it. Then at least you can ride legally. But like I said, don't come out of there thinking you can ride great, because I was terrible when I got done with the MSF course. I knew the basics. They could tell I knew the basics because I, passed the little drills, doing the oval, doing the figure eights, stopping quick, basic functions to be able to pass their course. And then they make you do like this written test, but nobody fails that. So my motorcycle channel, like I said, just hit 68 subscribers, a huge milestone for me. But it's all about talking about motorcycles. When I first started riding 14 years ago, I was searching all over YouTube looking for motorcycle stuff to, who's teaching what. And 14 years ago, there was a lot on YouTube for motorcycle content, but even more so now. So there's just endless amounts. But the whole idea of this live chat is live stream. If you have any questions, if you're thinking about getting into riding, this is a chance to ask them. I gotta adjust my camera. Adjust my lights. So I had so my whole channel is about really wanted to focus on the long form videos. I really didn't think I was gonna do do much for shorts. Even though it seems like shorts, my shorts, though, I think most channels, your shorts get more traction. But I was talking about crosswinds. That's one of the biggest things I think surprised me when I was coming 14 years ago when I was learning how to ride a motorcycle. That's the biggest surprise for me, because I didn't start on this bike, which is a little bit heavier bike. I think it weighs like 450 pounds. When I started learning, it was just a little Ninja 250. And dealing with those crosswinds, it takes a while to get used to dealing with those, because they can knock you all over the road. And if you're already riding, normally you're going to ride near that center line. Just as far as visibility, it's a better spot to ride. A weak, strong wind that can knock you over that line. So you just got to be aware of when those crosswinds, if it's a windy day, you just kind of have to push back towards them. Use your throttle to push up against those. You kind of have to, just lean into them a little bit. That's what I do. But you're going to get knocked around a little bit by those crosswinds. So the whole idea of live stream, like I said, it's when I was learning to ride, I had tons of questions. Knew some people who were into riding, but I was looking all over YouTube, searching for stuff. I found a lot of stuff, but I wish there was I didn't find a live stream that was answering questions about, you're thinking about getting in a ride. Oh, I'm too old. To me, you're never too old to start riding. For myself, I'm 43 now. Even though I've been riding, for a while now, and like I said earlier, it's about 14 years or so since I was 29. We're coming back from injuries. I was worried after hip replacement. Can I come back from hip replacement? Is the vibrations from the motorcycle going to bother it? Over the last few years, I've been very limited how much I can ride because how much pain I was having in the hip. And now it's replaced. It feels great. And 1,000 miles into riding, which is basically more than I put on any year this past few years, has been gone really well. But like I said, my whole channel, 14 years of riding. Anybody has any questions on you're thinking about getting into riding? Here's, this is why I want to offer the live stream. Questions about riding, think about getting into riding, the expense, riding, I hear that a lot. Riding a motorcycle is too expensive. Basically, riding a motorcycle is as expensive as you want it to be. I can speak, for the United States anyway. I bought my first Ninja 250, I think, for $1,500. It wasn't, it was a beater bike, but it's a great bike to start to learn to ride on. And I had it 1 year, and then I switched over to the Ninja 500. So start off something cheap. You can either keep it, resell it, and I resold that Ninja 250 for almost exactly what I bought it for. I think I bought it for 15, sold it for 13, and I did something similar to the Ninja 500. I think I bought that for 15, 16, sold it for 13, and each bike only had from one season. But I just still, I still learned valuable, the basics on that. I didn't wreck on either one. Got tons of glare. So like I said, if you're thinking about, I'm too old to ride, you're not. You're coming off of injuries. You can come back to those injuries and ride, because I've done it with multiple injuries between the shoulder surgery and hip replacement. Came back after both those, and I know there's many others who've come back after hip replacement or other surgery. So it's that they'll keep that from riding, or if you're just overall expense. Oh, it's just too expensive. Or it's like, oh, this motorcycle is great on gas mileage. Well, I won't worry too much about the gas mileage on motorcycles, because for the majority of motorcycles, they're all going to be pretty good. They're also going to be better than a majority of them are. I think in normal cases, they're going to be better, much better than a car. But that's not why I'm going to pick a motorcycle I'm going to pick. But don't let expense keep you from riding motorcycles. Like I said, my first bike was a Ninja 250. Bought it for $1,500, sold it for $13. Ninja 500, I bought it for, I think, $16, sold it for $13. And then I bought the BMW F800R, which is here, in 2015. I spent more on this being my third bike. I think I spent $10,000 on this one. BMW doesn't make this one now. They do a 900, which looks really nice. But why I thought something that was unique to BMW was they always did the gas tank in the back. I don't think any other bikes do that now, but the 900 looks really nice. If you're going from, like I said, I went from a Ninja 500. I progressed slowly, but it helped me to learn the basics, and I didn't wreck or anything like that. Play a level 43. What type of helmet should you get? So all my helmets I bought a couple of them from like a local motorcycle shop here in New York I was at. They're like Snell approved, DOT in New York anyway. They have to be DOT approved, Department of Motor Vehicle or Department of Transportation approved to be legal. So you have to just make sure at least it's DOT. Snell is just like an additional certification. Extra, it's even better. But also I bought a couple other helmets. Bought a couple other my helmets from RevZilla, which is a really good company. So like I said, I didn't go out and spend $1,000 for my helmet. My current helmet, this one I went pretty cheap. I think this one I got from RevZilla. It was only, I think, $300, but it has all the vents, normal shield, and it's really comfortable. I think it's like triple for my size of a head. It's like triple extra large, but it fits comfortable. But like I said, you don't have to get a good one that's DOT approved, certified. You don't have to spend a lot. Like I said, at the very basic, it's DOT approved. I would just be careful which, I wouldn't buy my motorcycle helmet from Walmart. There's plenty of legitimate places off Amazon you can buy it to because they're connected to, legitimate places that sell motorcycle gear. You just have to make sure, at minimum, it's DOT approved. Check reviews. Like I said, I wouldn't buy from Walmart or anything like that. I want to buy the cheapest. There are some motorcycle, even RevZilla sells some really cheap helmets. I think one of the cheapest they sell is like $100. I'm not going to go the absolute cheapest. It's important to protect your head, but for legal reasons anyway, I would at least make sure it's DOT approved. And play level 43, one of the questions, what bike do you have? So this, I said this earlier in the live stream. I know you came in after. So this bike behind me is the bike I've had for the last, I bought in 2015, so the last 11 years. It's a BMW F800R, bought it in 2015. It has, I want to say it's like 95 horsepower, so it's not a super bike, but from where I was coming from, Ninja 500, which I think is like 40 some horsepower, the old school Ninja 500. That increase going from 40 some horsepower to 95 roughly was a great jump. And this still feels like it has a decent power to me, not as much as it used to. And my next bike, I want to get the BMW, I don't remember the exact one. It's a naked bike, but it's a 1000, but it's all like the speedometer, tach, it's all digital. Like I said, this bike here is a 2015 BMW F800R, about 95 horsepower. I think that's what play level 43 asks. Party signs. But it's a great bike. But I'm gonna definitely, for the time being, like I said, I love the Kawasaki's, but BMW definitely took it to that next level. That's why my next bike is definitely gonna be a BMW as well. You may pay a little more for them. But the time I've had this, like I said, about 11,000 miles on it, there's been nothing wrong with this bike. Of course, I've done the normal maintenance, change the oil every season, a few sets of tires, of course, during that time period. But I'm pretty consistent on whether I have a video on my channel of what I do to fully clean my chain. So I do that off and on. A full clean, I usually only do maybe a few times a riding season, but spraying the chain with my lubricant, I don't have that spray around here. The spray I use, I spray that on. Depending on how much I'm riding, I might spray that on once a week, once every couple weeks, but keeping that chain lubricated, clean it off fully with my brush. Like I said, I have a video on my channel what I do for that. Will help your life of your chain just last a lot longer. So I haven't changed the chain on this since I've had it. Brake pads, none of that has been changed. All the same. The only thing I have replaced, I have a video on my channel on this as well. I have replaced the battery a few times on this, This year I had to replace it, but that was kind of my own fault because I didn't consistently hook the bike to a battery tender. And the batteries are getting pretty dang expensive for these bikes. This battery for this bike almost cost $200. So the batteries are not cheap. So I definitely recommend don't do the mistake I did and not have your battery hooked up to a battery tender if you go long periods during winter without riding. So I live in central New York, so we have pretty long winters. Basically, in normal cases, you're not going to ride your bike for December, January, February, March. I'm thinking this year, I think I rode it a little bit in April. So I had 4 months. You're going to have at least 4 months where you're absolutely not going to be able to ride at all in normal cases. December, January, February, March, usually those 4 months. And November is going to be super limited. April is going to be super limited. This year, anytime I rode in April, did I ride in April? I think I rode a little bit in April, but it was super limited because it was so dang cold out here. So you live in those kind of, you definitely want to have your battery hooked up to a battery tender. And battery tender, I've had the link in some of my other videos. It's like $50 for a battery tender. If and that battery tender is going to last you. It can last you for years and years. It keep you from having to spend you don't want to spend almost $200 on a battery every year, and those keep seeming to go up and up every year. So, I guess no more questions. But anybody has questions, you're thinking about getting into riding, some of the obstacles, or thinking about what bike's the best bike to get. I may not have, everybody argues about this to me, what their opinion is on your first bike. And I'm a big person. I still see it online all the time. Oh, this Ninja 650 is a great beginner. How is a Ninja 650 a good beginner bike? You're advertising this to try to get somebody killed if you're saying a Ninja 650 is a good beginner bike. A Ninja 650 is not a good beginner bike. I'm saying from my own experience, I would have killed myself if I got a Ninja 650. The bigger bike you go, the less room you have for air. So start on a smaller bike so you have room for air. Like I said, I started at 250. Not saying everybody has to start on 250. You may go up to, you start on a 500. And I know you may go to a 600 if it's your first bike, if you're going cruiser style, depending on what cruise you're going for, because I know the power is a lot different on those compared to a naked bike or a full out crotch rocket. But in normal cases, I'll start on a smaller bike, a Ninja 650, Ducati, 1000, or this bike that I have here, this 800. Those are not good beginner bikes. Start off small, and I'm not talking physical size. It's all about the power. Start on a smaller CC bike so you have some room for air, so you have room to learn it. So some of those stronger bikes, you just touch that throttle. I mean, it's gonna send you flying a lot quicker than something obviously with lower CC. But I don't think people realize how much of a difference that is. So, like I said, I see it online a lot. The Ninja 650 is not a good beginner bike. It's not a good beginner bike. After you've been riding for a long time, it seems like nothing. Yeah, I could jump on a 650 now because I've been riding a long time. But going back to when I was first learning to ride, like I said, I would have had serious issues if I started on something. I would definitely had more airs, potentially hurt myself if I had a stronger CC bike than the 250. Like I said, the 250 to 500 was a good transition for me. Starting on 500, I think is pretty reasonable if that's what you want to start on. But I would question anybody who's going to go bigger than a 500. And like you said, if you're going cruiser style, okay, cruiser style, maybe it's a 600. But I argue with people a lot that you're starting to learn how to ride. Start on something that you have room for air you can learn on. it's helped me the past 14 years not have wrecks. I started on a Ninja 250. I worked my way to 500, now the 800. But my whole channel is just, if you have questions about riding motorcycles, I know if people pop in and out and nobody stays, nobody asks questions. But I know this would have been really beneficial to me when I was learning to ride, about, talking about motorcycles, questions about riding, thinking about getting into riding. I'm too old to get into riding. I don't know how. I don't know people who know how to ride. We don't need to know people who know how to ride. It can be a roadblock if you don't know somebody, but that's why there's so much information out there. I watched a lot of stuff on YouTube as I'm learning to ride, as I still do, and that's why I'm offering this channel. It's okay. You don't know anybody who knows how to ride. Okay, well, you can still. There's people who are the MSF course. Your first step to take the MSF course. There was people with zero riding experience in that course, and even when I took it, I only had like 70 miles on my motorcycle. So you can go to the MSF course. They're going to provide you the motorcycle, and they're teaching you from the very basic, from the very start of riding. So you don't need to know somebody, but because, like I said, with learning to ride, to not to be like me, or you get pulled over because you're riding with your permit. I know a lot of people who do that. But if you want to ride, legally, not get tickets, if you want to get your license on your motorcycle, you either have to, go to the DMV, sign up for the road test. They give you a road test. I don't know. I think for New York anyway, I think somebody follows you in a car or something. That's how you're going to get your license. Or you take the MSF course, learn a lot of basic how to ride, hands-on skills. You take a test at the end of it with everybody else in the course, and then a written test, and then they give you endorsement. You just take that to DMV, and they give you your license to you. So that's the best way to do it. You can do it with no experience. Like I said, I when I was taking the MSF course, I had almost very close to no experience. So that's a great starting point if you don't know anybody who knows how to ride. Start there, and then when you have that license, like I had ridden such a little bit before the MSF course. Just because you have that license, I wouldn't go jumping on, the interstate, the throughway, the freeway, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't jump right on that, or even in some of your main heavier traffic roads. After I took that MSF course, I just started on some of the, I was going through the back roads, stuff like that, quiet roads, just getting used to maneuver the bike at faster speeds, getting used to that. As good as the MSF course is, it's not, since you never go past like 20 miles per hour, it's not going to simulate how you're going to feel if you're going, 50, 60, 70 miles per hour, especially if you're riding a bike with no wind protection. If it's a naked bike, really no wind protection. If you're even riding a full-out crotch rocket, you're going to have no wind protection. It's a lot different riding going 30 around town than you're going like 60, 70 on a highway or any main road, and then you have to take curves and stuff like that. So I wouldn't jump right into that after the MSF course. Just build on it slowly. It's gonna, what nobody has any patience for, but you gotta have some patience and just gradually learn and get more comfortable. One of the videos I was riding and filming today, and something I've been working on. Just getting comfortable back, since I'm so rusty not riding much the last few years because of hip replacement. Just get comfortable taking curves again, and I'm already getting more comfortable, and that's one of the videos I was doing today. That's one of the biggest things. I think that's one of the most common areas where a new rider wrecks within the first 6 months is taking curves too fast. I think one big piece though is you're on a bike that's too powerful for you to start on. And then number two is, you're taking a curve. A lot of new riders wreck on those curves because you're taking them too fast. If you're in a car, it's easy to correct it if you're taking a curve too fast. But on a motorcycle, you just can't ride off on the side of the curve and fling back on. That's going to potentially cause you to wreck. And obviously, if you even go off the road at all on a motorcycle, it's a serious issue. So taking those curves, I think, is the biggest area of you need practice. You're going to find that going in a straight line is incredibly easy on a motorcycle. When you're first learning, it's going to be a little intimidating, a little scary, because at first when you're going 30 miles per hour on a motorcycle, it's going to feel like, oh, I'm flying but you're going to get used to that in no time. And before you know it, you're going to be going 50, 60 or faster in a straight line. That's nothing. Even when you got other cars coming past you right next to you, or semis, you know, hitting you with all this wind, you'll get used to that. But then, yeah, that next level, you know, okay, I have to use, you know, you're not going to be going straight all the time. Taking on those curves is going to take a lot of practice to get used to maintaining speed. Not take, you know, it's okay to go a little slower on those curves. Don't, you know, blast through them. Those take some patience, a lot of practice to get that down. But like I said, I'd rather, when I'm taking on those curves, just go slow at first. I'd rather go too slow than too fast, you know, avoid a wreck. All right, not many questions tonight. Not many people viewing today. Oh boy. So we got 14 minutes left. So if you don't know, welcome back to the channel. I'm Shawn. My channel, Shawn Rides BMW, motorcycle channel, and I started this channel, I want to say back in February, right before my hip replacement. I think I said that quite a few times already. This is a live stream. I think February, right before my hip replacement, I filmed a couple like maintenance videos before I went out. Couldn't ride at that point, just weather alone, besides how bad my hip felt. But started it then. And then I think my first ride back after hip replacement was like 30 some days. So I've been filming my videos with the GoPro 13. I also got the one of the 360 cameras. I think it's like number 4 in their lineup. I think there's a 5th one too, but I think the number 4 one. So I shoot all my videos, my ride videos, I shoot with the GoPro 13, and that's in 4K, 60 frame rates, and the 360 camera I shoot in 8K, 30 frame rates. So those are what I use for all my filming, my videos. So, you know, relatively new channel, but I know when I was starting to learn to ride, I had a ton of questions on riding a motorcycle. I knew a few people, but that's that can be a roadblock if you're thinking about getting to riding. If well, for one, you may think you're too old, which you're not, and then or coming back from injury, which it can be tough. Like I said, you can start riding with zero experience, and even if you don't know anybody who rides, I think everybody knows at least somebody. But if you don't know anybody, that's fine too, because you take the MSF course. You can go in and take the MSF course. When I took it, I think it was $300. It's, who knows? It's probably maybe $500 or $600 now. But they provide the motorcycles. When I took the course like 15 years ago or so, they had Ninja 250s, the old school style, and then they had the Honda Rebels, the 250s. Those are the two bikes, either the cruiser style, the 250, or the Ninja 250. So if you're taking the MSF course, if you have zero riding experience, you don't know anybody who rides a motorcycle, MSF course is a great spot to start, because you can go in there with no riding experience, sign up, and pay the few $100, and you're going to learn that. So you're going to learn the very basics of riding the motorcycle, just how to shift gears. You're supposed to pull in your clutch. How you let go of the clutch. You got to throttle out of that. Give it some throttle so you don't stall out. So some basic stuff you'll learn from the MSF course. So I think today I am going to do one more minute. I don't think I'm going to go 45 minutes because this is super quiet. And talking to myself kind of gets old. We had a few questions at the beginning, but not any recently. So yeah, I think we'll go 30 more seconds. We'll cut it short today. Don't have anybody has any questions. This whole idea of this live stream was to ask questions. I know if you're thinking about getting into riding, there's tons of questions coming up. Whether it's the expense, the bike itself. Okay, well, gear. What gear should I get? Well, how much? How expensive a gear should I get? What bike size should I get? Okay, on top of that, well, for the United States, and most states, you need some type of motorcycle insurance. Is that going to cost me a lot? So all those questions are going to come up. And so, like I said, there's always many, many questions. That's why I had a live stream. Anybody who has questions on motorcycles, you think about getting a riding, or you've been riding a long time, and you has some, want to offer any input or still have any questions, try my best to answer them on here. I'm certainly no professional, but like I said, over the past 14, 15 years of riding, I've learned a few things over those years. Like I said, not much engagement from anybody asking questions. We've only had a couple people here and there pop into the live stream. But again, I'm gonna probably keep, maybe I'll like I said, I mean, this is my third live stream, so 3 weeks in a row for live stream, and the whole idea is this, just to get some folks asking questions. That's the whole idea that I'm doing the channel, is I'm offering tips and things during my ride videos, and some of the stuff I've learned and experienced, I think many can relate to. And those, the live stream, anybody who is riding or think about getting to riding, there's always tons of questions come up, motorcycle related, that everybody has, that I'll do my best to answer. Because like I said, over the years, I've definitely learned a few things about riding. All right, we'll go, since we don't have anybody else. Well, we have one other person on here, but they're not asking any questions. We will go 15 more seconds and we will call it quits on this live stream. It's going to be a quick live stream. Like I said, I'm getting a lot of talking to myself. So we'll do a quick one today, and then we'll be back next week with another one. I think I'll do the live stream. I should do the live stream outside. I'm like filming in a dungeon right now in my garage. All right, that's all I have. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.